Well, this is Jared with Stampede Blue. This is your Indianapolis Colts postgame wrap, and the Colts are going to the playoffs. Playoffs? Colts beat the Titans today on the road. Final score 33-17, and can't say enough about Andrew Luck, right? 24 for 35, 285 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sure, he threw a pick. Sure, he was sacked. Marlon Mack had a fumble too. Why don't we just call it everybody's sins, right? Marlon Mack had 25 carries for 118 yards. Teams better start keying on him, because if you don't, he's going to take over the game. And then it ain't like we got nothing behind him. Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins are very comparable running backs, and this rushing attack is effective. Andrew Luck is just straight moving the chains. He's starting to trust his receivers. We're starting to see him go downfield a little bit today. How about that throw to Inman, right? How about that little screen pass to T.Y. running on a bum ankle, still rushing for 43, or still running for 43 yards and outrunning the defense, right? So, of course, we had to kind of think the Colts were going to win, right? We're going into Tennessee, and we've already beat them at home 38-10 with Marcus Mariota, and beat him up so bad they had to take him out of the game. And Marcus Mariota comes up limp for the week, and we got to play Blaine Gabbert, and the offense might change a little bit. And Blaine Gabbert had 156 yards of passing and completed about 50% of his passes and threw 2 interceptions and generally missed on important third downs. And that's what the Colts defense is going to make you do, is they're going to put you in a bad spot on third down and force you to throw to the chains, and then they're going to play defense at the chains. The Colts secondary has played a lot better, and I get it, we're talking about the Colts defense playing against Blaine Gabbert. It's not like we're trying to figure out rocket science. But the Colts are opportunistic on defense. The only thing they didn't do today really was sack the quarterback. But if you look at the number they did on Derrick Henry, 16 carries, 93 yards, and a catch for 13. That's 106 yards given up to the leading rusher in the month of December. And if you look back, that was Ezekiel Elliott last week. That was Saquon Barkley last week. Zeke before that. The Colts are taking the best you got, and they're shutting it down and force you to pass to victory. And there aren't very many teams in the NFL that if you take the run game away, they can pass to victory. And with Andrew Luck throwing for almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, it forces teams to honor the pass, give up yards to the run. And there were several times on just key third downs where not only did we move the chains on the ground, we kept that clock moving. The Colts had the ball for 11 minutes in the first quarter. Andrew Luck was like 13 for 15 for almost 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and had a perfect passer rating. And then that dumpster fire happened in the second quarter. And then in the second half, the officials' whistles were like broken. They were going off like there was like a 4-play stretch where those whistles went off every play, and maybe they needed whistles or something. I don't know. That was supposed to be a good officiating crew, and I don't know about good, but man, that was about being micromanaged. That made me feel like I was back in boot camp. That said, though, there were even several no calls on definite hook blocks. They even isolated the offensive lineman pulling for Tennessee in that run play they were trying to run for Derrick Henry, and both times that lineman executed a perfectly timed hook block. That's a penalty every day of the week, and they didn't call it. So like I said, we can sit here and talk about the officiating all day long, or we could just say Darius Leonard got snubbed out of the Pro Bowl and had an interception today. That was his second. Had 2 pass breakups and 8 total tackles. So that's your defensive rookie of the year. It's not even close. Andrew Luck is comeback player of the year. Not even close. That was a second-ranked defense in the NFL. He just went 24 for 35 for 285 and 3 against. So yeah, Colts are going to playoffs. They'll play in Houston next week, Andrew Luck's hometown. Why not go enjoy the food there and then beat them, right? And then they'll play at the Chiefs, and then they'll play at the Patriots, and I'm assuming they're getting revenge on the Saints in the Super Bowl. Right, that's what's going to happen. And then after that, we have the draft. The Colts have 3 picks in the top 50. And yeah, all the signs are pointing up. And it's just like I said, if you can keep Andrew Luck upright and interested in football, the future's bright. Because this is the best team Andrew Luck's had that he's taken into the playoffs so far in his career. And he'd been to the AFC Championship with teams that aren't as good as this team is. And I know that I'm getting ahead of myself, right? But I can promise you that this very young football team is very talented. On offense, yes, Andrew Luck was sacked today, whatever. But generally had a clean pocket, did whatever he wanted, and then in the run game, when you're just running all over the number 2 defense in the NFL and passing on them too, it didn't really matter because the onus was on the Jacksonville offense to do something. And Blaine Gabbert missed far too many throws on far too many important downs, and when the Colts are shutting down your run game admirably, right? And then the second half, Derrick Henry got loose a little bit, but I'd have gotten loose too with the way the whistles were being blown. I'd have just run my little heart out. Kind of see what happens. But yeah, going into this game, the expectation on my part is I thought the Colts would win. I didn't think it would be close. And then, like I said, in the second quarter of this football game, mistakes were made. Bad decisions were made. I made the joke that, I know Andrew Luck studied architecture at Stanford. He's not a brain surgeon. He's going to make mistakes. Every now and then the guy is going to make a decision in a split second that you're like, I don't think you should have done that, dude. Like that jump pass. He just didn't have enough gas behind the throw and got picked off. Like that was awful, right? And then of course turn the ball over ourselves. But if you remember what I've been saying all year, if you can score on touchdowns on offense and that you're opportunistic on defense, it kind of mitigates when you commit turnovers on offense, right? So the Colts were neutral on turnovers, right? They forced 2 and they gave up the ball twice. And then when you're just able to score touchdowns and you put pressure on the opposing offense to score touchdowns, don't kick field goals, because that's how you lose. When the opposing team's scoring touchdowns 3, 4, 5 times a game, that's exactly what happens. That's why we're in the position we're in, is because Blaine Gabbert isn't able to pressure the Colts defense like a Marcus Mariota would have been able to do. And of course we hope for his recovery. Certainly would like to see him stick around. Also wouldn't be surprised to see a quarterback change there in Jacksonville and here in Tennessee. And then the Colts of course will play division foe, the Houston Texans, who we love. What a great football program they've got in Houston. And see if Andrew Luck, Darius Leonard, Quentin Nelson, T.Y. Hilton, and all these guys come out ready to play. Just kind of highlighting Andrew Luck here today. Obviously had himself a great game. Threw a touchdown pass to the 13th different receiver, and that tied an NFL record. Darius Leonard broke Jeff Herod's long-standing season tackle record set back in 1991. Thank you, Brett. And then, obviously, when it comes down to it, we think Andrew Luck, Comeback Player of the Year, Darius Leonard, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think Frank Reich, Coach of the Year. And then Executive of the Year has kind of already been talked about as Chris Ballard. So like we said, when you're winning all those awards, that doesn't really matter if you don't win the Super Bowl. This wasn't supposed to be a Super Bowl window year. This was a rebuilding year. So the Colts are essentially just kind of playing with house money and getting some playoff experience for a very young football team. And that's what's most exciting for me. When I look at what I want to see out of the team that I'm rooting for, is I want to see a trajectory, an arc. Are we headed in the direction of greatness? And with 3 picks in the top 50, the way Chris Ballard's handled free agency, the way he's handled the draft, the way he's handled personnel decisions, I have no doubt that the Colts are not done improving. The product on the field will improve. The Colts were the most penalized team in the NFL this year, with no help from the officials today, who called 19 penalties. Don't want to sit here and talk about that. Big shout-outs to the guys that don't get talked about enough. The Colts offensive line today obviously did not have a banner day. They're saying Mr. Glowinski's name too much, and it's for the wrong things. But really today, most of the time when I get on here, I'm talking about Eric Ebron, T.Y. Hilton, Marlon Mack, Andrew Luck. But today, the shout-outs go to the Dontrell Inmans, to the Nyheim Hines, to the Jordan Wilkins, to the guys that don't always get the shine. But the Colts have really good role players that they'll continue to develop, and I expect those three guys in particular as skill players to get to stick around. And of course, Eric Ebron, like we said, had himself a big game, caught a big touchdown. And the Colts are showing, at least that's what I see, the Colts are showing wrinkles in their offense. So they're not predictable. Today, obviously, T.Y. Hilton was not 100%, and he was used primarily as a decoy and got himself a long gain on a screen just because he's a really smart runner. And that was a one cut and go. And as soon as he was in the open, he kind of realized, like, I'm just going to get hurt if I keep going. So he just let him, he felt it went down on purpose, trying to avoid injury and contact. So really, obviously happy to win, not happy with turnovers, not happy with a poorly officiated game, and certainly looking forward to going back into Houston and handling business just like they did the first time. There's no reason the Colts can't go to Houston and beat Houston a second time this year. Didn't see too many injuries. Obviously, Tyquan Lewis went down. We hope, of course, that he comes back healthy. And, of course, we'd like to get Geathers back. We'd like to get Ryan Kelly back and really see what a fully healthy Colts team can do. So this has been Jared with Stampede Blue. This has been your Indianapolis Colts post-game wrap. Thank you so much for the journey that we've been on here through 17 weeks of the 2018 season. Next video I make will be in 2019. So I just want to wish you all a Happy New Year. Go Colts. We'll see you in Houston, then we'll see you in Kansas City, then we'll see you in Foxborough, then we'll see you Atlanta, and I'm assuming the Colts are going to get revenge on the Saints, right? Because that's the revenge tour that we're on this year, right? And then we'll talk about the offseason after that. Like I said, I'm really excited about the future. Now is great, but the future is where we're at, where we're looking. So everything's coming up roses, and we'll take it, baby. The horseshoe's looking good, man. Stampede Blue it's been a blast. Obviously, thank you to Stampede Blue for having me for another year, and thank you to the listener, to the viewer, to the reader, to whatever you call yourself. Really, to the member of this Colts community. I do thank you, and I hope I'll certainly see you back next year. We'll certainly make another video in a couple days anyway. But this has been Jared with Stampede Blue. This is your Indianapolis Colts post-game wrap, and have a good one, everybody.